Hey guys, I'm Chris from True Fun Entertainment, and if this is the first time you're watching my videos, welcome. I am currently porting Mortal Kombat to the Atari Jaguar. And in the last video, I announced that we're finally in beta, and that means the game is, for the most part, content complete. And since that's done, now we can focus on adding polish to the game, but then also knocking out some of these bugs that have just been kind of put on the back burner for the longest time so I could, focus on getting the content in the game. But now I'm circling back to knock out some of these nagging bugs that we've had for a long time now. So first and foremost, after the beta V1 was released, it was brought to my attention that we had a big display issue for our PAL users. So, there's two formats. There's the NTSC for the North American regions, and then for Europe, there's PAL. And I hadn't considered the differences in those displays. So, my PAL testers brought it to my attention, and I was like, yikes, this has to be priority one. Let's get them fixed so they can get back to testing the game and make sure it's not a showstopper. I had to make sure there was a fix for it, which was a little concerning, and then how I was going to implement it. So we're going to do a deep dive into that and how we address the PAL issue. I am happy to say it is fixed, and there is a new version that's available today. So beta v1.1 is now available. So let's take a look at how we fix the PAL version, but then also we're going to look at some of the other improvements that have been already implemented to kind of add some polish and some bug fixes that we've done as well. So we'll take a look at all that here in a bit, but I want to take a second to thank the Patreon supporters and my true testers specifically. You guys are testing the game, identifying bugs, and it's the very reason we're having this V1.1 update because I had to get the PAL issue resolved. I threw in some polish and bug fixes while I was at it, but you guys are the ones that are helping me not only keep me inspired, but also keep me on track with, here's the bugs that we're seeing and here's the priority. So thank you guys. And while we're on the topic of Patreon, I'm thinking about introducing a new Patreon tier. Don't really know what to call it yet. I'm kind of thinking maybe we call it the Fun House. But basically it's a tighter knit club for those who are really involved, really want to be involved with kind of the development of the game. I'm thinking we might have like a private chat room, and then maybe like once a month we have kind of a live meeting where we can discuss project updates, discuss bugs. We can have like a Q&A session. So you guys would really be more, closely involved in that development. So anyways, if that's something you guys might be interested in, let me know in the comments. And if there's enough interest for it, we might make it happen. So thank you guys. So now let's take a look at the PAL issue. So first off, I'm going to play a video, and this will kind of illustrate the before and after of what was happening with PAL. So as you can see, this here on the left is before the fix was implemented. The bottom of the screen, that bottom third, is basically cut off. So, and again, this wasn't introduced until I added the letterbox display. And I wasn't aware of this until my testers brought it to my attention. But yeah, you can see that bottom half is cut off on pretty much all the screens. And then we'll get into the fight here that you can see to confirm. There's the issue as well. And you can see at the bottom, there is that the sky color is still available or is still visible at the bottom. And I'll explain why that is as well. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So in NTSC, the resolution that we're using is 320 by 240, which means 240 pixels in the height, and that's for the NTSC display. In PAL, and this is what I just recently learned, there are 288 pixels. So it's 320 by 288 when being displayed on PAL. And the Raptor API that I'm using to develop this, it already handles the differences between NTSC and PAL by basically pushing the display down, so to account for those extra pixels. So you can see between 288 and 240, that's 48 pixels. So for the letterbox display, we're looking at 24 pixels extra on top and then 24 extra pixels on bottom. And that kind of aligns everything. So here's what was happening. The cutoff for the screen, since I'm doing the letterbox display, at 220 pixels, that's when I'm done displaying. So then I can basically bail out of the drawing routine, and that way we're not wasting any extra cycles because nothing needs to be drawn below that letterbox line. The problem was 220 pixels is not the same alignment on PAL. So as you can see here in the PAL display, when we cut off at 220, we're not done drawing the entire display. So, and this took me a while to figure out. I do have to thank CJ from Reboot. He's actually also the developer of the Raptor API and JagStudio. So I reached out to him and Rick, and those guys, I cannot thank them enough. They hopped right on and worked through the weekend to help me get this resolved, and finally we got everything working. But essentially, what it boiled down to was there are objects known as branching objects in when you're building out your object list for the Jaguar's object processor. It's going to iterate through all those objects in the current list that it's displaying. What you can do with branching is to say, past this scan line, don't process these objects anymore. And that's how the letterbox display works. It's basically saying, when you get to scan line 220, bail out. But obviously that had to change for PAL. So let's take a look at the code real quick. Here we go. So we've got, let's start with the list of objects. So as I said, this here is the branching object, which is currently set to 220. As we said, for the default is the NTSC display. So these branching objects control, like I said, when to actually display the list. So you can see this top one is set for 34 pixels. So it doesn't start the display until 34 pixels. Then after 220 pixels, we're done. And then it can bail out. And that just makes things more efficient whenever drawing the screen. But like we said, we needed a way to change this for PAL display. So you can see we've labeled this X branch line offset. And this is the 0 one. We have 4 of them. So there's 4 different lists that we have to display. So now that we've put this label on it, we can change the value. So in my wrap app, I now have this logic. So if it is not equal to NTSC, which means that we're on PAL, then I need to go update these values with 244, which is 24 pixels further down than what we're doing for NTSC. Like we said, we need that 24 pixels above and then 24 pixels below to account for the differences between the 288 versus 240 display. So this is it boils down to a pretty simple fix, but believe me, at the time I was scrambling to figure out what I was going to do. So this was the ultimate fix, and I'm glad it was just a few lines of code. in the end, that's the best kind of fixes, where you're not having to do a complex rewrite, but just injecting a little extra logic. So that was the fix on this, and I've confirmed with my Patreon supporters. I gave them a little early access to the beta v1.1, and they did confirm that it's working on PAL. So huge relief. I'm glad we're past this. So now let's take a look at some of the polish that I was able to implement. Okay, so the first thing I handled with the polish is the camera movement. And a few of you guys have mentioned this both in bug reports and just comments on YouTube, that the camera was kind of choppy as it moves. And before, the camera moved at 8 pixels at a time. So it did look a little chunky, especially when it's kind of the slower movement. When it's moving fast, it's not as noticeable. But when there's just slow movement back and forth is when you really notice that 8 pixel jump. So what I did was I got it down to where we can scroll by 2 pixels. And you can see kind of the comparison between the two. We are at a much smoother frame rate when moving that camera. So this was a nice polish to the game. It was something I wanted to do for a while. It was just, a matter of getting to it. So yeah, that's the big fix for PAL, and then some of the polish we did for the camera movement and screen transitions. I did some other bug fixes. There was an issue where Raiden, if you did his torpedo in certain places, the fighter would fly back, and it wasn't in sync with the animation. That has now been fixed. There was also a bug where you could just punch them just repeatedly, and there was no knockback. So you could just keep punching them and deplete their life bar, which you can't do that in the arcade. So I did a thing where if you punch, I think it's more than like 3 or 4 times in a row, they'll do a knockback animation, and it gives the other player, the relief that they can then counter. So that has been addressed as well. And the last thing I want to talk about in this release is the addition of the soak test. So a soak test is, most games that are developed have soak tests. It's for the developer, just to make sure there's no memory leaks. So if you turn on the soak test, it's basically the game's going to run itself. It's computer versus computer, and it'll just go through a series of matches. So it'll randomly select 2 characters. It'll go into the next stage. They'll fight, and it just repeats itself on loop. And like I said, that's to detect any kind of memory leaks that might be in the game. So I've run several tests in the soak test, like 6 to 8 hours, and the game runs, didn't have any issues, but I wanted to throw it in there so that as we continue to do polish and bug fixes, we can continue to run the soak test just to make sure we're not introducing any more, memory leaks or any other issues. So, and it's kind of fun. You can turn on soak test and just have it running in the background if you want to just have something to check on. So it's kind of cool. That's what I do that during the day. I can turn on soak test, just check in and see the game's running. It's still good to go, and it's kind of fun. But anyways, that's pretty much it for today. Again, let me know if you guys want to do kind of a new Patreon tier to do, I guess the fun house is what we'll call it, where we got private chat and like a monthly meeting to do Q&A and discuss the project. Let me know if you're interested. But like I said, if you do want to check out Beta V 1.1, go over to the Patreon page, sign up at that true tester level, and the download is there. It's the top pinned post on Patreon. So hop in there, PAL users, glad to have you back, and hop in, test the game. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like the new improvements, and continue to report those bugs. Like I said, I'm already working on the next update. So I have my list of issues that I'm going to be working through, and I'll keep you guys posted. But until next time, I think that's it. We'll see you.